أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين اللهم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم الخير ثم أما بعد والحمد لله to you all السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to this lesson number 9 in our marriage rules course, which is a part of our Islamic studies series. And in our today's lesson, inshallah, we are more or less going to speak about one main topic which was remaining from the discussions around talaq. And as you know, we've discussed, and we didn't actually go into all of the details of the entire marriage course because we've done that before. This was more of especially important topics which people find interesting, controversial, necessary, questions around it and so on. In our last week's lesson, we spoke about a series of different reasons upon which a woman may seek separation from her spouse. Okay, first we spoke about the man's issuing of divorce and the circumstances and situations around it. And then now we are speaking on the other side, whereby situations in which a woman may seek separation, fasakh from her spouse, based on legal grounds. And today we're speaking about something which is a very famous topic, which is the topic of Khula. Now, so far in our discussion around women seeking separation, it's been a lot to do with grounds, reason. For example, she can separate based on a lack of expenditure, based on lack of availability or disappearing of the husband. And the grounds were spoken about in our previous lesson. Today's topic, Khula. Khula is something that has the element, has an element of the woman having grounds, having reasons. Having grounds and having reasons to seek separation, but it can also be under a situation in which the woman may be seeking separation from her husband with no legitimate grounds. So far we've spoken about legitimate grounds, but now we're saying khula can be because of a reason. Woman may come and say, I don't want to remain married because my husband is not giving me my rights. That may be the case. Or she may well say that this marriage is not going to work out for me. I can't carry on in this marriage. And then the judge or the Shari'i council or the mufti may say, why? What's the reason? She may say, I just can't remain married in this particular nikah, in this marriage, so I want to seek separation. So in that situation, because this is not a valid reason, because no legitimate ground, if the judge was to say, okay, fine, we're going to say labbaik to your request and we're going to sever your ties of marriage, that would be unfair. So the judge and the hakim and the Shari'i council won't say that. It will say, no, hold on. You want to end this marriage, you want to separate from this marriage. What's the reason? She say, I don't have a good enough reason. Or she may give reasons, but they will not substantiate as good enough grounds for legitimate separation. So now the judge will say, just like the marriage was initiated with a handsome mahar, with a financial expenditure, in order for you to end this marriage also, you must spend or return the mahar that the man gave to you. Now this khula amount, this khula sum, how much should the sister or the wife or the female wanting divorce, should she give back, return, refund, give back? This is completely down to negotiation and down to agreement between the two spouses, as well as the mediator, as well as the judge, as well as the middle person. What's the evidence for this from the Quran? Because this seems, of course, a topic which needs to be understood with profound evidence from the Quran. Allah says in the Quran, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا يُقِيمَا حُدُودَ اللَّهِ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِمَا فِي مَا افْتَدَتْ بِهِ. If you fear that they will not uphold the hudud of Allah, the rights of Allah, the boundaries of Allah, okay, they will not maintain the boundaries set out by Allah, فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِمَا, then there is no harm between them in that which she فِي مَا افْتَدَتْ بِهِ, in that which she gives in order to free herself or to take herself out of the marriage. As for the hadith There is a hadith narrated, many riwayat on this topic. Of them is وروى ابن عباس رضي الله عنه أن امرأة ثابت بن قيس أتت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقالت يا رسول الله ثابت بن قيس لا أعيب عليه خلق ولا دين ولكني أكره الكفر بعد الدخول في الإسلام فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أتردين عليه حديقته قالت نعم قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم he said خذ الحديقة وطلقها طلقة واحدة. This hadith is being narrated by this great famous Sahabi, as you know, Abdullah ibn Abbas, the cousin of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says that a woman, the wife of Thabit ibn Qais, the wife of Thabit ibn Qais came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She said, my husband, I can't blame him or I can't hold him to account and I can't fault him for his deen, for his religiosity, for his piety, nor can I fault him for his character. He's a good man, he's alright. But, I do not want to find myself in a situation where I أكره الكفر بعد الدخول في الإسلام. I hate to be of those who do not appreciate or turn to kufr after entering into Islam. The meaning of it has been taken as that she was asking for a separation from her spouse. Despite her husband, she is saying herself from her own account that she can't fault him of his piety, religiosity, or his deen. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, so the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said to her, then will you return to him the garden that he gave to you as mahar? She said yes. So then the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم turned to Thabit and said, take the mahar back, take the garden back, and give her a single talaq in exchange for your mahar being refunded. So the point is that the concept of khula has been there in Islam from the earliest of times, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And as we've said, these are not situations we encourage, nor are these situations that we jump to, but these are situations which may sometimes be the only solution, for people to be able to carry on with their life as normal and pursue piety, pursue closeness to Allah. Ultimately, these ahkam are not supposed to be used lightly. A person is not supposed to marry and divorce lightly. A man is not supposed to marry someone and then after having fulfilled his desires, he divorces. This is not in Islam. This is not the kind of commitment that Islam teaches us. It teaches us that we take someone with a وَأَخَذْنَا بِنْكُمْ مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا. They take from us a very severe contract. And then the Prophet said, وَاسْتَحْلَلْتُمْ فُرُوجَهُنَّ بِكَلِمَةِ اللَّهِ. You have made your spouse halal for you with the word of Allah. So it's not something to be taken lightly. Marriage is something that we commit to. Okay, and so walking out of a marriage is a serious matter, and we've given a long introduction in that in our previous lessons. But nonetheless, there may be situations in which the man has to issue the divorce, and there may also be situations in which the woman has to seek that divorce out based on legal grounds, which we've described in our previous lesson, or based on other grounds in which she is willing to return the haqq of the husband back and free herself from the marital commitment. So that teaches us that there are some conditions to khula. Khula is not just like that. There are some conditions to khula, which is أن يكون المبذول للرجل مما يصح تملكه. That what the woman will give back to her husband as exchange for her separation, for getting out of the marriage, because she's the one that wants to walk out. He wants to hold her. He wants to carry on with marriage. She wants to walk out. First and foremost, that which she will return to him, give to him, must be something that you are legally allowed to possess. It may be the mahar, it may be something else. She can't say, I will give you in exchange of you divorcing me all of the birds in the sky. This is not time for romantic speech, ya ammi. This is the time to actually give something back. This is financial commitment. I seek separation, I want khula, and in exchange I will give to him all of the fish in the seas. This is not a specific amount. You can't own the fish in the sea. You have to give specific amounts. You have to say, I will return 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 pounds, or rupees, or taka, or riyal, whatever is your currency. Okay, it has to be specific. If it's not specific, and if it's not something that you are legally as a Muslim allowed to possess, then this is not a suitable exchange. Does that make sense? Yeah. If someone says, I'm going to give him, in exchange of him divorcing me, I'm going to give him wine. So no, you can't give wine because it's not halal for you to possess that in the first place. Or pork, you can't own that. Or stolen goods, you can't own that. Does that make sense? You get the point that you can only return, and the woman may only offer in khula that which is legally permissible for a Muslim to own. Okay? Furthermore, another condition of the khula has to be that this is by choice and request from the wife, not by choice and request from somebody else. Because if you imagine the situations, we don't have to imagine all the scenarios, but it's very probable that a woman may be saying, I want khula, but those who are pulling the strings may be others than the spouse. It may be a parent, it may be an uncle, it may be someone else that wants to get her out of the marriage for their own personal benefits. Does that make sense? So she has to herself want the khula, otherwise the khula will not be acceptable. Okay? An uncle can't come and say, oh, my niece, she wants to get out of the marriage, and so I'm going to give you here. Take the money, because he's got lots of money. Take the money and khalas, go. And then they asked the bride, and the bride says, no, I want to carry on. And in that case, the khula will not be acceptable as well. So these are some of the conditions. Again, like we've said, we're going to give an overview. The details and the minutiae of the situation will be explained case by case when we go to the Fatwa Council and Sharia Council. May Allah not put us in that situation ever. Hopefully you will have happy and successful marriages, but if the situation comes, then there will be a lot more discussions and exploration for you to understand, inshallah, how to resolve these difficulties. Okay, there is now discussion between the fuqaha as to whether the man is allowed to only ask for the mahar back or more. So for example, he gave her £10,000 mahar. Now she wants to go away. She wants to separate the marriage. What's the reason? I want khula. I want separation based on financial expenditure. Or I'm happy to pay for the separation. So is the man allowed to ask for more than the mahar or just the mahar? Scholars have differed. Some have said only the mahar, and others have said no. You can ask for more than the mahar. So I want my mahar back, plus I want someone top. Because now, who wants a previously married guy? In many societies, someone who's a divorcee, okay, is not as desired as someone who's a single man. So just giving the mahar back will not suffice. Furthermore, there's a lot of emotional and sentimental difficulties I have to face up to because of separation. I have to get over this situation and I have to get out, I have to go get married again. It's long. So just the mahar refunded may not be just. So if the man says, no, my situation says, wallah, I need to ask more. £10,000 mahar, I want that back, plus I would like another extra 10k, please, if you don't mind. It'll be very nice. I'll buy myself a nice car with you or something. He can make those conditions. And the Fatwa Council and the Sharia Council will go and negotiate that. Ultimately, it's a matter of negotiation. Okay, if the wife can afford it, then she will. If she can't, then a resolution will be sought, inshallah, by the joint team of the mediator and the two parties. Okay? Now, there are some other types. Okay, sorry, one more thing before we go to the other types. The divorce that is issued by khula, is it a revocable divorce or is it an irreversible divorce? We spoke about this before. Does anyone remember? So woman goes to the Sharia Council, the Mufti, whatever, I want khula. Okay, you want khula, return the mahar, plus whatever. She says, okay, that's fine, I'll do it. They take the money. Now the divorce is issued. Is it a reversible talaq or is it an irreversible talaq? Reversible? Reversible? Irreversible? Anyone else, any other opinions? It's irreversible talaq. It's ba'in talaq. Why? Because she has fulfilled her part of the agreement, and she has went through extensive difficulty to try and seek a separation. Now, after having sought that separation, now the man says, okay, I take you back as my wife. Is that fair? That's not fair, that's not justice. So that's why it's not a reversible talaq. This talaq can't be reversed, it's a ba'in talaq. However, if they did want to continue with marital life again, what would they have to do? they will have to do a complete new nikah with the permission from the wali and the two witnesses and the mahar and everything else as if it was the first time nikah. Okay? So the talaq that is acquired, that is, sought by khula is a irrevocable, irreversible talaq. It's a ba'in talaq. Okay? And if someone wants to marry again after, if they want to remain married afterwards, then they must do a new nikah afterwards. Unless, of course, they've used up all of their 3 talaqs, isn't it? 1, 2, 3. If you've used up 1, 2, 3 talaqs, then فَإِن طَلَّقَهَا فَلَا تَحِلُّ لَهُ مِن بَعْدُ حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرَهُ. If they've already issued 3 talaqs, or if the man's already issued 2 talaqs before, now the third one, the lady gets a ba'in. Can they reverse that talaq? No, they can't. Can they get married again? No, they can't. Because now it's been 3 talaqs. Now the only way for them to get back together is if the woman marries again and that marriage ends naturally by death or by divorce, then they can get married again. So that is an element that is an issue to remember, which is that the talaq achieved or acquired by khula is a irreversible talaq. And remember this, we've clarified this last lesson as well. Whether it be khula or whether it be normal divorce, you don't have to use all 3 talaqs to separate. You can give 1 talaq, wait for the iddah to finish, and the marriage is finished. She may well go and get married again. You may well go and get married again. That's complete. It's jaiz because the 1 talaq is ba'in and the iddah is finished and you carry on. However, the benefit of giving only 1 talaq and not all 3 is that if you do have a change of heart in a year's time, then you can do a new nikah and remain married, unless of course it's been 3 talaqs already. Has everyone understood this concept? Yeah? 3 talaqs, new marriage separate, as in someone else has to be involved. But if it's a ba'in talaq up until 2, then a new nikah is required for them to remain or carry on with the marital life afterwards. There are some also other issues that we want to take into consideration when it comes to khula. If a woman has been separated by talaq, as in separated by khula, then one of the rules that are applicable here is that this woman, you can't issue another talaq to. Okay? She's already achieved her talaq and her separation by khula, so والمختلعة لا يلحقها طلاق وذلك لأنها لا تحل له إلا بنكاح جديد. So this khula, a person who's already been separated by khula, you cannot give another talaq on top after the khula has been done. Furthermore, just like, listen to this, mahar, can it be something that's financial asset? Yes, it can be mahar, right? Can it be an intangible benefit? For example, the man says, my mahar to you will be that I will teach you the hifz al-Quran, or I will teach you so-and-so books of Islamic law, or that I will take you to Umrah, or that I will become a farmer in your land. That will be my mahar to you. Is that jaiz? It's jaiz because it's jaiz also in the story of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, yeah? So, al-nikah ala al-manfa'a, something that's an intangible benefit. Can it be a mahar? It can be according to non-Hanafis. According to Hanafis, it has to be something that's actual, tangible commodity property. It has to be something like £10, £50. It has to be something actual, something physical, physical currency. Now, taken by the second opinion, which says that the mahar can be an intangible benefit. Similarly, the khula, if the woman says, I want khula, but I don't have money to give, in exchange, I will provide a service, a benefit which is intangible. Now, don't think crazy. It means something like, for example, she says, I will work as a cleaner. Or for example, I will look after and breastfeed the children, his children, from maybe other marriages or other children from that same marriage. Something that would normally require a fee, it's intangible benefit. She may say, I can't give the money, but I can give this particular service, which is halal, which is like breastfeeding and other stuff, which is a halal service she can provide in exchange of her khula. Does that make sense? So khula can be upon money or something that is an intangible benefit as well, according to the second opinion. Another issue that we need to remember we said that talaq shouldn't be in the time of her monthly menses. Didn't we say that? Yeah? That talaq should not be issued in the menses or in the postnatal bleeding, because that would be bid'i. The sunnah way of issuing talaq, if one wants to give talaq, is that it should be in the time of the month when there is no menses or there is no postnatal bleeding. But khula' now, because it's by choice from the woman, she may well go and seek it within the menses period or during the postnatal bleeding. That's just some other masail that come out. Another issue is, like, I don't know if you, hopefully you don't have to face this. The woman may have someone representing her in her khula'. She wants to ask a khula', but she may ask someone else, can you go and speak on my behalf with power of attorney, saying that I'm representing the bride to seek for the separation. And so on, okay? There are some other types of separation that we said. For example, al-Ilaa. Okay, al-Ilaa is that, لِلَّذِينَ يَئْلُونَ مِن نِسَائِهِمْ أَرْبَعَةَ أَشْهُرٍ تَرَبُّصُ أَرْبَعَةِ أَشْهُرٍ لِلَّذِينَ يَئْلُونَ مِن نِسَائِهِمْ تَرَبُّصُ أَرْبَعَةِ أَشْهُرٍ. Now, Ilaa is a type of separation whereby a man swears that I will not go next to my spouse ever again in marriage, and I will not approach her. And there are certain scenarios in how to resolve that. So the point is that there are a few other methods of separation. There is one called dhihar as well. Dhihar is when, for example, a man compares his wife to his mother, okay, and says, she has become to me like my mother. It's an indirect way of giving talaq. It depends on his intention. Her back has become to me like the back of my mother. It's like an Arabic, like old Jahili way of giving talaq. They would compare their wife to their mother, and that would mean that the talaq is finished, it's separated. Okay, but in Islam, dhihar is not allowed, first of all, as a legitimate form of separation. And furthermore, if someone was to do dhihar and compare their spouse to their mother, it would depend upon their intention. What do they mean by that? Did they mean talaq? Did they mean not mean talaq? There is also another type of separation called al-li'an. Li'an is, which is explained in Surah An-Nur. Allah speaks about it. It's a very famous mas'ala, which is that when the husband accuses his spouse of zina. When the husband accuses his spouse of zina. Now normally, if you want to accuse someone of zina, which is adultery, right, then this is not permissible unless you have 4 eyewitnesses. 4 eyewitnesses who witnessed the actual occurrence of the zina. Now this is almost impossible to achieve. That's why the hadd of the zina and the capital punishment of the zina, these are numbered cases, because for you to have a situation where 4 reliable people have witnessed and testified that I have seen this zina taking place. You can't say, I saw someone coming out of someone's house at this particular time. That's assumption. Okay? Al-hudud tudra'u bil-shubuhat, as the qawaid says. Like when you have a severe punishment in Islam, a capital punishment, then any shubha, any doubt, anything that causes doubt in it, there's a possibility, then that had to be left out, because the punishment is very severe and it can't be based upon doubts. So the point is, normally if someone accuses someone of zina, then they must have 4 eyewitnesses, otherwise what? Otherwise the person who's making the accusation will be punished themselves. In an Islamic legal system, there will be very severe punishment like lashes. But if this is the legal system is not using that, then there will be a punishment for defamation, for accusation, for trying to sever a person's marriage, even beyond Islamic system. So the point is, bringing the accusation of zina is a very severe matter and requires 4 eyewitnesses in Islam. except in one case. And that is when the husband himself accuses his own spouse of zina. And he says, I have seen my wife with fulan committing X, Y, and Z crime. So now, the reason why li'an is a methodology, li'an is the way that this will be resolved, is because it's not expected that if the husband sees his spouse, God forbid, in such a situation, that he will invite others to be witnesses to that. Does that make sense to you, yeah? It's not expected. Furthermore, the marital commitment to each other gives a level of guarantee and confidence that the husband will not go and accuse his spouse unnecessarily. Because if you want to separate from your spouse, habibi, just go and give her the talaq. You don't have to go and give her li'an, isn't it? If you don't like your wife, you want to be separate from her, it's simple. Go and give talaq. You can do that. So for a husband to come and accuse his spouse of a severe crime like that, okay, the methodology of dealing with that is called al-li'an. Li'an. How does that work? Inshallah, you can understand. If, may Allah forbid, may Allah protect us all, hopefully you never have to go through that. Inshallah, none of us will. But it's basically whereby they take an oath by Allah, وَالَّذِينَ يَرْمُونَ أَزْوَاجَهُمْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُمْ شُهَدَاءُ إِلَّا أَنفُسِهِمْ فشهادة أحدهم أربع شهادات بالله إنه لمن الصادقين. Those who accuse their own spouses, and bring the ayah out, so inshallah I'll recite it to you. And this mas'ala is not very complicated. Do you know why? I mean, it's a dense topic, it's a very difficult topic, but it's not complicated because it's specifically and clearly legislated in the Quran, and the method of it is also clearly laid out in the Quran, and this is in Surah An-Nur. Surah An-Nur is juz number 18, okay? And this is in ayah number 6 onwards. Allah says, وَالَّذِينَ يَرْمُونَ أَزْوَاجَهُمْ. Those who want to accuse their own spouses, their own wives, of the biggest of sins. Rami bil zina, like accusing of zina. Then وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُمْ شُهَدَاءُ إِلَّا أَنفُسُهُم. They don't have any witness except for themselves. They say, I've seen myself. فَشَهَادَةُ أَحَدِهِمْ. Then their own testimony, the husband's testimony, is according to Allah, أَرْبَعُ شَهَادَاتٍ بِاللَّهِ, suffices as 4 testimonies. Because normally you need 4 witnesses, isn't it, for such a big accusation. إِنَّهُ لَمِنَ الصَّادِقِينَ. And then وَالْخَامِسَةُ, there is a 5th item. أَنَّ لَعْنَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ إِنْ كَانَ مِنَ الْكَاذِبِينَ. That he will say in the court, in front of the judges, in front of the mufti, in front of the Sharia council, and he will say, Allah's curse will be upon himself, he says. I don't want to say it too much. Allah's curse will be upon me, he says, if I am from the liars. So he is willing to take the curse of Allah upon himself, because that's the level of assurance and confidence he has in what he has seen. So this accusation of al-li'an is a very severe matter. وَيَدْرَأُ عَنْهَا الْعَذَابِ. Now, is it just one way he accuses and that's it? She may well become freed of the accusation from her husband. أَن تَشْهَدَ أَرْبَعَ شَهَادَاتٍ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّهُ لَمِنَ الْكَاذِبِينَ. She may become freed from such an accusation if she says 4 times, by Allah, I swear by Allah, I testify by Allah, that he is lying. And a 5th time, she says, وَالْخَامِسَةَ أَنَّ غَضَبَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهَا إِنْ كَانَ مِنَ الصَّادِقِينَ. She says, Allah's wrath and Allah's ghadab, Allah's anger will be upon me if he is telling the truth. So there is a method of resolving a situation where a husband wants to accuse his own spouse of the worst of sins. His accusation is taken seriously, and her rebuttal and her denial is also taken very seriously, as long as it's done in the correct methodology of al-li'an, which is legislation in the Quran. I'm not going to go into the details of it, because I don't think it will ever benefit you, inshallah. As in, I don't think inshallah you'll ever have to go through that, inshallah. Al-raj'a, we spoke about al-raj'a, how raj'a works, how you revoke the talaq, okay? Al-idda, we spoke about al-idda, okay? Idda is the waiting period that a woman has to go through, okay? After the ending of a marriage, whether it be by divorce or whether it be by death. Whether it be by divorce, whether it be by death. How long is the waiting period? And the hikmah behind the iddah are many. But firstly, Allah says, وَالْمُطَلَّقَاتُ يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ ثَلَاثَةَ قُرُوءٍ. The divorced women must wait by themselves without marrying again for ثَلَاثَةَ قُرُوءٍ, 3 quru. Quru, according to the Ahnaf, is 3 menstrual cycles. And according to the Shawafi' and Shafi'iyya, is the pure time of the month. Ultimately, both parties are saying month. But which part of the month is a big debate. And we've shared the joke, and I'll share it again. One man was reciting, وَالْمُطَلَّقَاتُ يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ ثَلَاثَةَ قُرُونَ. He said instead of quru, he said qurun. The difference is quru means 3 months, and qurun means 300 years. So he's saying the woman has to wait for 300 years before she can marry again. Of course, it's a mistake. Allah says, وَاللَّائِي يَئِسْنَ مِنَ الْمَحِيضِ مِن نِّسَائِكُمْ إِنِ ارْتَبْتُمْ فَعِدَّتُهُنَّ 3 أشهر وَاللَّائِي لَمْ يَحِضْنَ وَأُولَاتُ الْأَحْمَالِ أَجَلُهُنَّ أَن يَضَعْنَ حَمْلَهُنَّ. Okay? So why did Allah make iddah for the women wajib and fard upon them? It's to allow for their rahim and for their bodies and for their minds and for their psyche and for their physiology and their psychology to be able to recover from one marriage before stepping into another marriage. Furthermore, it's also a way to clearly and profoundly and without any doubt verify her situation, condition in terms of pregnancy. Is she expecting a child from the previous marriage? Who does this child belong to? Biologically connected to who? So this iddah is very important. If someone says, well, today science can tell me before 4 months or before 3 months, we say, no, ya ammi, wait. It's not about your science and it's not about your minds. It's about the Quran and the Islamic legislation. The reason why iddah is there, we've understood the hikmah. Remember this, brothers. Inshallah, we'll speak about this more in our usul segment, inshallah. There is a big confusion. People always confuse between illah and hikmah. What is illah? Illah is the reason behind a particular command. A reason behind a particular ruling. So the reason behind us following iddah, what's the reason? Why do women have to follow the iddah? Tell them, what's the reason? Because Allah said so. There you go, Allah ta'ala. The reason why they have to follow iddah, the reason why we have to pray is what? Allah said so. Now if I come and say the hikmah of salah is that it's good for your exercise, good for your back, it's, mashallah, discipline. If someone says, hey, guess what, I can jog 5K, and I also have other kinds of discipline, does that mean he doesn't have to pray anymore? Why? Because you can't get the hikmah to cancel out the illah, which is the reason why you're actually doing it. So a woman comes and says, why should I have iddah? Because Allah said so. Say, oh sister, but there's also some wisdom behind it. What's the wisdom? Because it allows for you to recover before. No, I don't need the time for recovery. Oh no, I can do a biological test to figure out if there's anything, if I'm pregnant or not. Say, no sister, wait. You're taking the wisdom and trying to make the wisdom the reason. The wisdom is not the reason. The reason is that Allah told us to. Does that make sense to you guys, yeah? Because a lot of people, they always get this confused. They say, for example, you know me, I don't really pray, but I'm a very spiritual guy. You crazy? What spiritual are you? Wallah, you hear it all the time. A lot of people that don't pray, you know me, I don't really pray, but I always remember Allah in my heart. That's not what Islam is asking. Islam is asking for you to pray 5 times a day. Sister Masi, wallah, I don't wear my hijab, but I love Allah and His Rasul. That's fine, it's good. But you have to also action the injunctions and the commandments of Allah. Does that make sense? So the hikmah does not override the illah, which is the actual reason why you do it. So if someone says, I think there was one very famous celebrity that said, I pray about 50 times a day, man, I pray about 100 times a day. I'm not going to say his name because his name doesn't deserve to be mentioned in this blessed house of Allah. Anyway, so ultimately the reason why we do things in Islam is because Allah said so, or His Rasul said so, because of قال Allah and قال الرسول. قل أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول. Obey Allah and His Rasul, and every other reason and every other proof of evidence in Islam, proof or evidence in Islam is based upon قال الله and قال الرسول. Whether it be ijma', whether it be qiyas, whether it be istishab, whether it be istihsan, you will always find that there is evidence of Quran and Sunnah that is the basis of that evidence as well. So the basis of all evidences, قال الله قال الرسول. Okay, and that's what the hadith says. تركتكم على المحجة البيضاء. I have left you on the clear evidences. Okay, and that no one will divert from it. No one will divert from it as long as you hold. No one will be misguided as long as you hold on to it. And that is Kitab Allah, Allah's book, and my Sunnah, the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so iddah is fard and it must be observed. Now iddah is different for different women, depending on the situation. First of all, the easiest one is if a woman is divorced while she's pregnant, then when does her iddah finish? If a woman is divorced and she's pregnant, when does her iddah finish? As soon as the child is delivered, whether that be after 3 months or within 3 months. As soon as she's delivered, so for example, the husband divorces, and then 2 weeks later she delivers the child, her iddah is finished. Sorry? No. It has to be a delivery. And abortion is another major sin in Islam. Okay? And the rules around abortion are also very clear and specific. That's a very good question, by the way, because someone might try to bend the rules of Sharia and say, well, abortion is like delivery. But abortion is a sin, and it's only permissible in very limited circumstances. And that's a separate issue. We don't go into that now. Okay? The second type of iddah is quru', 3 menses or 3 months. The third type of iddah is by months, as in just by an estimation of the months. And that's for those women whose monthly cycles have stopped because of old age. Or for the women who've never actually had menses ever in their life because of biological situation. So for them, the estimation is based on 3 months. Okay. That's خلاص. صدق الله العظيم. Allah has said the truth from all the ayat that we said. Okay, there's many more masail, small ones, furu' and etc. that we could have probably discussed and gone into, but it's intentionally left out. But we targeted initially that we'll finish this marriage rules course in about 10 lessons, and I believe this is 9. So we're in time, and inshallah this will be the last lesson for this topic. Do you have any questions? Fire away. That's good to know. Today's Isha is at 10 and the Adhan will be in about... Yeah, go ahead.
What if they have kids? What's the wrong with the kids once they divorce?
If there is a divorce and there's kids. Okay, so regarding childcare and regarding like child legal guardianship, in this country, of course, we live in a UK system, so we'll have to go through the social services and they will come to some sort of a court judgment and that will decide who keeps the children based upon financial capability and etc. The legal system is known. In Islam, the ruling is different. Ruling is different. Children that are of a particular age, now this is from the top of my head, I've done this quite a long time ago, I can't remember exactly, so I may be mistaken. But I believe, from what I recall, I'm answering the question briefly, so don't take me as evidence for this. If the kids are under the age of 7, then they naturally stay with their mother because they require nurturing, they require feeding, they require X, Y, and Z. Unless the woman gets married again. If she gets married again, then it's upon the father to take these children and get someone else to look after them, whether it be a wet nurse or etc., and pay for those fees and make sure that's done. Okay. After the age of 7, the priority of now, because these years are of education, of tarbiyah. Here, the priority is given generally to the father because he's supposed to have the responsibility of tarbiyah, of education, etc. When the children become baligh, age of puberty, become baligh, become adults Islamically, they are responsible for themselves. Does that make sense? So the first half, if you like, of the childhood, Islamic childhood, talking about before pre-puberty, will be with the mother because they need the caretaking, etc. And on the other half, it will be for tarbiyah, for education, which will be under the, priority will be with the father. But again, all of this, it depends upon the situation. For example, if the woman gets married again, then in these first 7 years, the priority may be different. If in the other case, the man is not available for the education, he's gone away, he's gone missing, he doesn't want the kids, then it maybe will be different. But this is a general guiding principle. Okay. Again, subhanAllah, this mas'ala last time I spoke about was quite a long time ago. So I could be wrong, but this is what I recall. But ultimately, there is an Islamic way. And if the situation comes where childcare is a mas'ala, then it should be discussed with the mufti, with the shaykh, and whatever sharia council, etc. But what I will say though is, this is profound, and this is absolutely imperative that every person should know and should convey, which is that unfortunately, in most cases of marriage separation, the children become weaponized. The children become tools of revenge, which means that they have to suffer the most. Who has to suffer the most? The children have to suffer the most. Because either the husband doesn't let them see their mum, or the mum doesn't let see their. And I hear these cases almost every week. Even right now, one brother is telling me he's heartbroken. His wife is. Allahu Alam about the details. I don't know what his situation is, but from what I've spoken about, what he's told me, she's stopped him from seeing his children, and he can't see. He can't even come inside Tahamless apparently. So these situations happen because obviously the legal system is very, very, very serious when it comes to childcare and child's health and safety, and etc. So, but ultimately, as Muslims, we have a responsibility of ensuring that we do not push our children to severing ties of kinship. Maintaining ties of kinship, and the most important ties of kinship is mom and dad. Regardless of how angry you may be at each other because of husband and wife problems, you must not allow for that to take a toll upon the children. In that, they should be able to see both mom and dad. They need that. Don't be vile, don't be evil, don't be so vengeful, so toxic that you make the children the tools of negotiation. That's not allowed in Islam. Any other questions?
You said that, for example, if a man wants to divorce his wife, or he accuses her of committing zina, you said that he needs 4 witnesses.
I never said that. I literally said the opposite. I said the opposite of what you're saying. I said the opposite of what you're saying. If you can finish your question. Okay, so first of all, hopefully you don't have to ever go through that. And if you want to go back to the mas'ala, you can rewind the clip, inshallah. But the point is, if the man accuses his spouse, he doesn't need 4 witnesses. He has to testify 4 times by Allah that he's saying the truth, and the 5th time that Allah's curse will be upon him if he's lying. And that will be in front of a judge or a Shari'i council or a mufti or the legal authority of that time and place. Okay? But accusing anyone else of zina is a severe crime, unless of course it's true and you have the 4 witnesses to testify. Yes?
Within Islamic, do we have a stoning when there's zina happening?
It depends where you are. If you're in a Sharia country, if you're in Afghanistan, for example, the ruling will be different, but not in the UK, because UK is not governed by Sharia law. Does that make sense? So it depends where and when as well. Yes, do you have a question? Oh no, sorry, Hadith was just coming in. Jazakumullahu khairan. Inshallah, we'll end it up here. I wanted to show you guys a book. I really want you to try and inshallah purchase this book, because inshallah this will most likely be our next topic, or this will be our next syllabus. An introduction to the principles of Islamic jurisprudence. Mabadi ul-Usul. Introduction to the principles of Islamic jurisprudence. All these years, since 2017, in this Islamic studies class, we've been doing law. The rulings of the 5 pillars of Islam, the rules of marriage, the rules of trading, the rules of this, the rules of that. But we haven't ever gone behind the rules, which is to understand how the rules came into play. How the rules came and became rules in the first place. How did something become fard? Why is it wajib? Why is the wajib not fard? Why is the fard not wajib? Does that make sense? I'm not questioning us into doubt Islam. I'm saying, how did the scholars of Islam decide whether this is fard or wajib? How do we understand, analyze evidence of the Quran and the Sunnah, which then dictate the level of importance each mas'ala is given, or each hukum is given? This is the subject matter of Usul al-Fiqh. This is a small introduction. And it's so nice. It's from Azhar publications. And it's like really nice written in Arabic, then it's translated into English as well. So it's very simple, easy to understand, and inshallah, I hope bi'idhnillah, it was written by an Indian scholar called Mufti Sa'id Ahmad Palanpuri and translated by Ibrahim ibn Ismail Nadat. And you can get it from Azhar publications, you can get it from online. It's called what? An Introduction to the Principles of Islamic Jurisprudence, Mabadi'ul Usul. You may purchase it online, I'll purchase it online, it will be delivered to your door inshallah. But this will be our next topic bi'idhnillah, and I think it will be very, very, very interesting inshallah. For example, definition of Usul al-Fiqh. What is it? Sources of Sharia, Quran, Sunnah, Ijma', Qiyas, which is analogy, okay? Designation of a word. A word may be specific, it may be general, khasan am, it may be al-mushtarak or al-mu'awwal, it may be a word which has multiple meanings, or al-mu'awwal, which has a chosen expression. Very, very nice, beautiful, it makes your brain work. A word may have al-haqiqi meaning, haqiqa, or al-majazi meaning. How do you understand that in Islamic law? Okay, and we've spoken about this in our recent course. As-sarih, which is like I divorce you, or al-kinaya, which is we are now separated. What does that mean? So this is all also interconnected with Usul al-Fiqh. This book, Mabadi al-Usul, an introduction to principles of Islamic jurisprudence, inshallah, will be the next topic of our discussion. Bi-idhnillah azza wa jal. You will be updated also with links and etc. on our WhatsApp group. So if you're not on the WhatsApp group, speak to Wahid inshallah, make sure you're in there. جزاكم الله خيرا سبحانك اللهم واشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك السلام عليكم ورحمه الله وبركاته